Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Alhamdulillah, man. Inshallah, everybody in the best state of iman and feeling good and healthy. I mean, so I'm gonna get back to doing books or whatever now that Ramadan is over. But sometimes when I do these videos, I'll be addressing certain things that's within this community. So some of the things that I be talking about is I wouldn't refer to it as personal, but it's things that I'm experiencing or seeing going on within my environment. So on the weekends we back to doing. I won't refer to it as a class. To me, it's more like a dars, a lesson, a study. You know, there's a whiteboard. It might write some stuff on the whiteboard. People might take some notes, things being discussed. But I wouldn't necessarily call it a class because there is no classwork being done. There's no homework being done. And there's no quizzes. And there's no tests. And there's no exams. So technically, I won't call it a class, but trying to bring about an introduction into a class, what you have to figure it out, because one, you have to pay attention and kind of probe around and figure out the needs of the people. And this is one thing as a tarbiyah, to figure out how to bring about education that's going to be accepted by people that may not want to do what it takes to pass a class. You know what I mean? So like, and I'm going to say this, and I'm speaking from a position of, and hopefully this will make sense to some people. I see, and I deal with a lot of, I ain't gonna say a lot, but some individuals who graduated and they came back, and some who's going to graduate, bi'ithni Allah ta'ala, from some type of Islamic university, and there's some who's sitting with scholars and been with specific scholars learning books 10, 12 years, and they're gonna come back, or they teaching in the UK. So what I'm noticing is with the ones who came back and they're teaching in what I like to refer to as the urban community, what you will start to see is they have to give lessons, a dars, in accordance with catering to the sensitivities and the level of Islamic understanding to the people in that community, with a level of sensitivity, because at any given moment when you're around people that's known for just going left, they might go left on you. So it's really resulting into them sitting at a table basically reading a book to people or explaining a book to people, hoping that they get it, hoping that they could take away from it at least something. You see what I'm saying? And then they may do sometimes a little bit of a Q&A. But because you have to understand, in the urban community, a lot of us urban individuals, we didn't take school serious. You see what I'm saying? This is not everybody, but a lot of us went to school to be cool. We didn't go to school to be straight A students. So a lot of us really don't have good study habits for real, as far as studying for exams, unless it involves something that's going to pay us. So let's say if we wanted a job and we had to get online, and we had to take classes online that we had to pay attention to, and then we had to take an exam at the end for a job or for a class that's going to lead to a better job. We're going to do that because we see at the end of the road, on the other side of that rainbow, is a pot of gold. But when it comes to Islam, we might not necessarily do that. We don't want to take a test. We don't want to be asked tough questions. So then when I see other people who don't necessarily have to deal with an urban community, they actually have they actually can teach real things. They don't have to cater to an extremely sensitive community that's subjugated to go left because they know everything. Who are you to be trying to tell me, oh, you picked that specific book because you're trying to check me? You see what I'm saying? When they don't even know if you was gonna come or not. So I like to watch other places that don't have to deal with an urban community that's almost like a ticking time bomb, where, like, it ain't no secret about urban communities. Somebody might feel some type of way at a class and shoot up the place. You know what I'm saying? Somebody might feel some type of way and try to break up your marriage and family just based over a question that was asked in the class. So you have people who have to deal with that. So it's almost like classes, real classes. Anybody who been to school, which everybody been to some form of school, whether it's elementary, it involved homework, classwork, quizzes, pop quizzes, and tests, because you had to get your understanding checked. You had to make sure that you know this so that once you leave out in life, you will be able to function as an educated adult in a system that's built on education. You need to be able to read and do some math if you're going to be working these machines. Or if you're going to be doing this, you're going to be doing that. But Islamically, some of us don't see the need for Islamic education because we don't have to go out there and technically function as Muslims, because we don't comprehend fully on the other side of that rainbow as Jannah. So I'm saying all that to say, like I say, so I see other ones and they able to teach a whole lot different, and it's more thorough education, and it's not a thing of, y'all not gonna really understand this anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all just here because you ain't got nothing else to do type of thing. And that's like where my statement is. In the beginning, the teacher is going to be more serious than the students. Then the students is going to have to become more serious than the teacher, because if just like you watch like TikTok videos, if a teacher might be one of the best teachers in the whole school, but they in the class with all the kids that's unruly, that don't do their homework anyway, that don't take any tests serious, how serious are they going to be when they get up in front of that whiteboard, or when it's time to really educate them on something, when they going to be like, y'all not going to take this serious anyway? It don't matter to me. I'm getting a check. Y'all gonna have to go out there and figure out life. And this is starting to happen in the educational system of what's happening at these masjids. So in these darts that I be at, one thing I've been trying to stress and get to the people is you gotta start to be able to recognize the punishments of Allah in this life, and then you need to know your categories of things, because if you leave off certain things, there's a punishment from Allah. We're not just talking about the punishments in the grave. We're not talking about the punishments in the hellfire. We talking about the things that's going to lead to you being punished in this life. And then once you're able to accept that and grasp that concept, then you'll start to be able to grasp what exactly those punishments are. You understand? And once you're able to grasp what those punishments are, you will be able to recognize, okay, Allah is punishing me. Now, one of these forms of punishment, man, is how religious knowledge, like you won't be able to understand no deen. Although you may know things to say, you may know how to know how to do certain ritual acts like a wudu, but you may totally not understand ghusl. Just like real talk, and it ain't a judgment. And these is forms of wudu, tahara. Like you may not understand tayammum, right? And these is basic understandings. A lot of Muslims right now that I listen to, that I talk to, they really think that ghusl means just taking a regular shower. So and then when you go and look at it, there's times when they just took baths, which it is still considered to be ghusl, but then there's time of the ghusl for impurities from sexual contact, from having sex. That's a different type of, because you have to re-purify yourself. That's not a regular shower. That's not a regular bath. And people mixing the two. You see what I'm saying? And by being based on wudu, if you don't do the ghusl in the proper fashion that it's supposed to be done in, it's the same when you get ready to approach the prayer and you haven't made wudu. There's no difference. But due to the fact that people don't understand this and don't want to understand it, you can't sit in front of some people and say, I hate to inform you, man, but you, sister, brother, y'all not make ghusl. And then even with Jumu'ah, when it comes with your basic Jumu'ahs, when you look at the hadiths, it say you make the type of ghusl for sexual impurity on Friday, not a regular shower or a regular bath. And these things is important because we don't understand the position that we putting ourselves in. So, and all this leads to understanding the punishments. So, we have discussions in this class, man, and sometimes a lot of old stuff get brought up because it has to be brought up. Because, for one, I talk about certain things because the root cause of these issues need to be addressed. Because where these problems started, and what it put into the hearts of the people hasn't left. It hasn't left. It's kind of like when you have friendships and people stole from each other, or you have marriages where people cheated with each other, but they decided to keep being friends, or they decided to keep being in a relationship, but what those acts did never really left. So the marriage or the relationship is never really the same. So how this all tying together is because sometimes it's the punishment that you under with Allah that makes you think a certain type of way. So to give a scenario with this specific community, to show the negative connotation that has been put on people. And I'm getting to a point to how the basics of religious knowledge, all the way down to the basics, has been lost on a major level when it comes to extremely important issues in the deen. So if you have a group of men, and this group of men have their wives all being together. But not every last man, but the majority of the men in that community is saying, when you go be around these sisters, you need to talk about this. You need to discuss this. Don't talk about that. And every last one of them is doing this with their wives, except for maybe 2 or 3. The ones who's doing that with their wives, and then when their wives come back to them and say something that they didn't tell them to talk about, or that a direction they didn't point them in, they put the blame on the brothers who ain't even doing that with their wives. So this is something that they created on in their own head. Oh, them other brothers must have told them other sisters to come talk about that so that you can come home and correct me. Them brothers think they slick, when them brothers never said nothing. So then these same brothers will get together without the brothers that they're blaming, and come together and have these secret talks, which is filled with the shaitan. Oh, such and such this, oh, such and such that. When in reality, these 5, 6 brothers, y'all the one that's doing what y'all upset at some other people that didn't do. So really the problem, y'all the ones who doing what y'all have a problem with. Y'all the one telling these sisters, when you get there, this is what you talk about. When you get there, this is the book you need to have. And then it's even crazier when the book that you tell your wife, or this brother tell his wife, this is the book you need to take. Then when they come back to you with some information out of the book that you gave them, and you can't even recognize it. And then you blaming other people. These real life scenarios, so these incidents caused a lot of problems, to where these problems still exist, but the problems people have got over the problem, but that mindset hasn't went anywhere. So what I'm noticing is, when I come out, this is the thing. So one of the biggest arguments, which is crazy to me, is the prayer direction. All right. So the prayer direction is still an issue. But this is the part what I want people to understand. And when you get into that punishment of Allah, where the basic concept of the prayer direction is being lost. So a situation arises where we coming together to have a dars, right? Now, due to me, the understanding that I have and the dealings that I always have with these brothers in this community, I always pray before I go around them. Because every time when it's time to pray, there's always an issue. And I'm not trying to be funny, to the point where we got in the prayer, the person leading the prayer messed the prayer up. And I'm talking about, like, really, I'm not talking about messing up recitation. Like really messing the prayer up. We sitting there and we may be eating and people passing gas and all this and that, and then it's time to pray, and then you might have 10 people there, like 7 people just jumping in the line, and they not even in wudu, which I'm not saying that's a problem. Then we arguing over who gonna leave, who gonna pray this way, who gonna do this and that. It's always something. Always person trying to lead the prayer, and they under the influence of pills and just a whole lot of stuff. So I always pray before I get around them. So when I show up, and I use a different prayer clock than them, they use one that's set by a council here. I use one that's set by Mecca and Medina. So my prayer times be more in accordance with the sky, and theirs be more in accordance with a calculation. So I may be 10 minutes before them, 15 minutes, but mine more in accordance with the sky. Theirs more in accordance with calculations. Which not saying either one is right or wrong. So I be within my means when I pray before them. And then I be in a masjid. So I'm praying in a masjid, then I go around them. So when I come around them the first day, they say, one of their clocks end up going off. Mine ain't going off because mine had been went off. So when theirs go off, and then of course the thing of where some people don't pray Asr at the same time. Some of their Asr is set on the Hanafi schedule. So anyway, you gonna come back here and pray? I already prayed. You know what I'm saying? And then they know me. Oh, okay, alhamdulillah. So they go pray, and I stay where I'm at. Yeah, I can go pray some sunnahs with them, but I know there's going to be some issues, so I stay away from it. So I'll see them go back there and pray. I don't know what they doing, but I know something isn't going to be right. I already know it because I know who I'm dealing with. So I don't go back there. We come meet again. I don't go pray with them again. I pray before I get there. So we come together another time. Like I said, I don't know what's going on where they praying at, but I know there's some issues. So I come there the next time, and there's some young kids, and I hear them in the back arguing over, there's some back and forth about the wudu. So I can hear them, and then I hear one of them saying, well, it don't matter if you do it or not. The only thing that matters is your intention. But I can't see them. I can only hear them. So I'm like, okay. So I get up to get ready to go back there to see what the argument is about. And so by the time I get back there, they already lined up to pray. So now as I'm going back to to figure out why they arguing about the wudu, because all I hear is one person saying it don't matter. The only thing that matters is your intentions. So I can't see everything, but I hear. So let me see. And I know when it comes to wudu, and different things, that's not correct. So I just want to go back to resolve that. But by the time I get to where they are, they lined up behind another person, and they done already entered the salat. They praying the wrong direction. So now that I done seen it, now my mind is going through a whirlwind because I done been around them. I just didn't go in the back and pray with them, but because there's people around that knows this is the wrong direction, my mind didn't fathom that was going to be the issue. So I never went and looked. So now that they done did it in front of me, I got to address it. And this is where the basics of Islam is being lost. But a negative connotation has been put there because some of these same brothers put a negative connotation on other people because their wives learn things and they put it on. Like imagine that. My wife come home knowing something. Alhamdulillah. But now I'm going to get mad at the one person that I think have enough knowledge for you to learn that. But really, they learned it from the book you told them to look in. But due to the fact you hadn't looked in it, you see what I'm saying? So they put this negative connotation. So the negative connotation was when I had to dress it. See, you walking around looking for stuff. You peeking around corners to see what people doing. Which I never did that. But the basics of the thing was when I came through the door, y'all invited me to come pray with you. So if y'all would have did, so what did y'all think was gonna happen had I went and prayed with y'all the first couple of weekends? Y'all know I'm not an individual gonna sit down and say, oh, for the sake of all of y'all, I'm finna sit down and pray the wrong direction. Especially with some new Muslims who don't understand. Okay, if it's a sunnah, that's a different thing. So, but the negative connotation is put out there because people don't want to take accountability of issues that's being addressed, or you just walking around looking for what's everything wrong. People, to be honest, I'm not looking for nothing. Once it's done in front of me, I have to say something. I'm not gonna sit down and say, oh well, I ain't gonna say nothing about it because y'all might leave. and then have to worry about on the day of judgment where Allah say to me, why you didn't say nothing to the new Muslims? Like, why you didn't say nothing? So from this incident, because this issue was addressed, it go back into this same circle and everybody calling each other on the phone. Oh, I'm coming out trying to confuse the community. He's walking around looking and peeking around corners to figure out people's mistakes when I never done none of that. So anyway, so due to Ramadan and different things, and due to people causing problems and breaking it up and this and that, everything kind of fell apart. And people wanted to pull it back together. So we pulled it back together, come to the thing, and lo and behold, this argument is brought back up through the prayer direction. Because they keep coming and trying to figure out ways to make it correct. Even to the point where they were sitting up saying, and this is what I'm saying, punishment from Allah, where before it got to the rest of the community, in this room, individuals were saying if Allah wanted us to pray facing Mecca, He would have told us to do it. And being that He never told us to do that in the Quran, that's not what He want us to do. And this is a person who's been a Muslim like 30 years. So I had to sit down and look at him and say, brother, you've been Muslim 30 years, man. But this isn't like a Muslim that's up in their 70s and 80s. So it's not like they old and senile or have different things going on with their memory. This isn't an old Muslim. You know what I'm saying? And then there's other people who may be in a circle that's been born Muslim to Muslim parents. So they've been Muslim 40 years in different things, right? So I'm saying, man, it's sad that we had to have this conversation. And we've technically been having this exact same conversation since 2006. Well, I don't keep having it with him. So anyway, I had to read to him from the Quran where Allah do tell us to face Mecca. So now he got to go home and he got to call everybody. Now they want to change. So now they want to come up and corrupt another. You sit up. I read it to you. Because they claim they went and looked in the Quran and they claim they had all these discussions. And they had all these discussions with all these other knowledgeable Muslims about it. Right? So now they got to come back up with some other stuff and corrupt some other ayats of the Quran, which they was using way back in 2006. And now they got the wives going telling the other sisters and the other wives, this is how it's supposed to go. So now this is another incident where a particular husband is having his wife go and try to corrupt the other wives in their group. So now the argument ends up in the group with the sisters. But this is the part where I'm talking about. When the brothers who wasn't doing that, right? The brothers who wasn't saying, hey, go tell the wives this and tell the wives that. These brothers collectively would get together, although they was the ones doing that, they would blame the brothers who wasn't doing it. But now that you know that this brother told his wife to put the corruption back in the group to try to confuse the other sisters and making up lies, why y'all don't have that same energy towards the person who really doing it? Why ain't y'all saying, hey, Ahmed, you trying to, why you ain't saying, hey, go tell her to tell that nigga and all the other stuff that y'all did when y'all was accusing the people who wasn't doing that of it? Why is that energy gone when this is a person who's really corrupting it? So due to that, some sisters show up at the Dars and start talking about the situation and all the argument. Now let me show, and this is what I'm saying, when the punishment of Allah comes in, look at the basic level of knowledge that has been lost. And some of y'all who listen to this, this is going to be funny, y'all. We talking about the basic level of knowledge. Whenever a masjid is established, even if they finna build it from the ground up, what's the first thing they do? Establish the Qibla. Any masjid you go in, they have established the Qibla. Now, it may be a mistake where they're facing the wrong direction because they didn't establish it the way that it should be established, but somebody just said the prayer direction is that way, and it could be wrong. But based off of that, you can't step in a masjid on this earth unless it's a masjid of corruption and a masjid of bid'ah and deviation that does not have the Qibla established, even if that Qibla direction is wrong. There's not a Muslim with proper understanding of Islam that doesn't know when you pray, before the first thing you have to do after you make wudu, the very first thing you have to do before you takbir is what? Face the Qibla. This is extremely basics. There's 3-year-olds, there's 4-year-old kids that know after I make wudu and I go get ready to stand for salat, the very second I stand up, I face the Qibla. Now you got Muslims who've been 40 years, Muslim 40 years, 30 years, 20 years, based off of, okay, we lost the argument, which wasn't an argument, which in reality, a lot of these issues stem from them seeing somebody doing what's right, from them seeing somebody that's doing what's right. Pardon me. So, with them seeing somebody doing something, but this person is doing what's right, they go and try to correct that person. They go and try to correct that person. Then when they find out that they was wrong, what they do? They run around and say, oh, this person just always running around looking for people wrong, trying to correct somebody. But just like right now, when these same individuals jump in a group and try to tell these other wives, no, what y'all need to be doing this and doing that, y'all doing this wrong. Ain't y'all doing exactly what y'all accusing other people of doing? But the problem is, y'all wrong. And when you get to the point where you don't even understand, so now the narrative that they trying to push is, you could pray any direction that you want. A Qibla doesn't even matter. Why on earth does every masjid have a Qibla established in? So they want to do weird stuff like twist up Quran ayats. Like, they haven't used this one yet, but I've been listening to them do this since 2006. One of the Quran ayats that they use is the fact that you faced east or west isn't righteousness, which they don't understand. So that means basically they interpret that it don't matter. But what this ayat is referring to, let's say, and I'm going to bring it to a common time. You can have Muslims in the masjid, right, that's praying the right direction, and then right after the prayer is done, they shoot up the Eid. So the simple fact that you face the Qibla in prayer doesn't mean that you're righteous. That's what it's talking to. You can have a Muslim come to Jumu'ah service, right, face the Qibla in prayer, but then they might go home and molest their wife's daughter, molest their wife's son, might sell another Muslim some dope and a gun in the lobby. The simple fact that they faced the Qibla when they prayed didn't make them righteous. But they want to distort that verse as in to say, it doesn't matter which direction you pray. The direction, you see what I'm saying? Because they need to twist it to an argument. Then they want to use the other ayat that Allah is the Lord of the East and the West. So there's no such thing as a Qibla. You could pray any way you want due to that. When they not understanding that when the Qibla direction was changed, that ayat was based off of the individuals who was praying the old direction and now they're praying the new direction, Allah's letting them know that your prayers ain't going to be lost that when you was praying to the old Qibla. Not that you could pray whatever way you want. Because then after these things come down, and then there's some other things when you get deeper into the tafsirs and different things about that particular ayat. The point is, they're twisting it because they're not looking at no tafsirs at all, and then they listening to an individual who claimed to sit with a person that's a scholar who's not even a scholar today, and they saying this person was a scholar in the 90s. So, and he didn't really sit with this person hand to mouth. He was around him for a very short period of time, and because these people didn't even know who this individual was, they think he sat with a scholar, so he tell them that this person told them that, when I know this person, and not only did that person not have that understanding then, that person doesn't have that understanding now. But this was a sophisticated way to get them. He became a leader based off of them thinking he sat with the first black scholar in America back in the 90s. Who right now in 2024, that person ain't even a scholar in 2024. And that person that they referring to is a Salafi. But this is an individual that called Salafis Wahhabis. So anybody who understand the trickery, but I'm saying, when that punishment of Allah come down, so this is like even in the Quran where it tell you, when people have a disease in the heart, Allah will increase that disease. And when you listen to the ulama and different people of knowledge, they'll let you know, even when that person picks up the Quran, that disease is going to increase. All the way to the point now where you pick up Quran ayats and use it to corrupt the people. You'll use the Quran ayats to corrupt the people based off of, and that's what it said, a time is going to come where an ignorant person, people going to sit up and ask an ignorant person something, and this ignorant person, not only is he going to answer, he or she going to answer that question, they're going to mislead those people and they're going to mislead themselves. But the thing that amazes me the most is when these particular brothers do this with their wives and tell their wives, go and corrupt the rest of those wives. These brothers will sit up around them like, yeah, alhamdulillah. I don't know why you telling me not to be rich. That's my friend. He ain't messing me up. Yes, he is. But when the brothers who wasn't doing that, they click up and put a negative comment on the brother who's not doing it, that still lasts today to where they got to sit down and say, because they doing something wrong, and then they do it wrong in front of somebody, and then a person sit down and say, not even referring to them, hey, y'all do what y'all want to do, but y'all who they call themselves teaching, y'all not supposed to do that. If that's what they want to do, let them do it. Y'all not supposed to do that. Here's the proof. Here's the dalil. Now, after the proof and dalil has been given to you, if you choose to go do that wrong, that's on you. Which is what a Muslim's supposed to do. But then when that happens, oh, you just trying to mislead, you trying to corrupt people. You always running around looking and peeking around corners trying to see what people doing. No, I'm sitting right here and y'all sitting right there doing bid'ah in my face. And I'm not saying it's the type of bid'ah, I'm calling it bid'ah because you don't refer to yourself as being a particular sect of Islam. No, it's bid'ah because it's real bid'ah. And I'm sitting up looking at these people corrupt. Like you going from first you go from Allah never said it in the Quran. Then when a person read it to you where Allah says it in the Quran, now you got to go put your head together back in that inner circle of goofies that you work with, and now y'all got to find a whole nother ayat to corrupt that just to prove it wrong. How you going to prove Allah wrong, man? How are you going to prove Allah wrong? But then when you see your wife and then your wife jumps in a group chat and then put all this stuff in there and try to distort all these other wives, these same brothers that had all that energy towards brothers who wasn't doing it, why they don't have it towards the ones who really doing it? Because the basic understanding and concepts is starting to be lost in their mind. How are you trying to prove that a Qibla doesn't matter at all, and then trying to say every masjid I ever been to, they do this, they do that? Why do they establish a Qibla in the masjids if the Qibla doesn't have to be faced, whether the direction they chose is right or wrong? The point is they established one. Why is it that when you go and learn the conditions and the pillars of Salat and what invalidates prayer, this and that, before you even talk beer, the very first thing that you have to do is face the Qibla. Right after you get done with wudu, and when you get ready to pray, what's the first thing you got to do? Face the Qibla. How is y'all trying to go and prove that the Qibla don't matter? And then want to come up with all these weird concepts. Oh, if I was in China or if I was over in here and I pray this way, this and that, you think it matters? Of course it matters. Don't you think if there's a masjid in China, there's a masjid in Russia, there's masjids everywhere. When you walk in them, guess what they're going to have established? A Qibla. Whether that direction is right or wrong, that's neither here nor there for this argument. But the point is, the basic concept, but then even the individuals who having a back and forth with them is sitting down saying, like, y'all don't understand that there's a Qibla established in the masjid? But y'all trying to use Quran ayahs to prove that Qiblas don't even matter? You so foolish to the point you got a Qibla established in your house where you pray at. You don't realize that's a punishment from Allah? And it's unfortunate, man, because these things is happening in this community, but I'm talking to other people, and this is starting to be widespread. So that's why I'm trying to get certain individuals to grasp the concept of being punished in this life. The punishment in the hellfire and this and that. And then once you understand that Allah punished us in this life, you need to go and look towards what leads to that punishment. What those punishments look like. Because the descriptions is in the Quran. The descriptions is in the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There's ayahs where Allah says flat out and clearly, Arabic and English, if you participate in certain things, expect a war from Allah and His Messenger. How you going to defeat Allah? You need to know what that war look like if you're going to choose to indulge into those things that the war against Allah is going to come. Although you're not going to win that war, but you're not even going to be able to recognize that you at war with Allah, for one. And for two, that you losing it. Because at the same time, Shaitan is going to make that path beautiful for you. And as long as Shaitan beautify that path for you, you're going to stay on it. And then not only is he going to be your companion in this life, he's going to be your companion in the next one. Because these things that y'all doing, it doesn't lead to Jannah. And just for the simple fact that y'all misleading people, and then y'all telling people the wrong things, and then certain people may be around and know y'all doing it and don't say nothing, but then the person who jumps up and say, whoa, what, y'all doing this in front of me, now I gotta say something. Now once again, the person who said something, all that negative energy gotta be dictated towards them again. Oh, you must be looking around corners and peeking and looking for people's mistakes. Or you always trying to correct somebody, because I guess they have entered a mindset of, well, that's between them and Allah. It ain't none of my business. What you mean it ain't none of your business? You feel like Allah is going to allow you to sit there and watch some other Muslims, especially Muslims that may be your companions, mislead other Muslims? Like, come on, man. But if these exact same Muslims took these kids around Muslims who selling dope and drinking and smoking weed and all this other stuff, y'all have absolutely no problem with that. Y'all not sitting up saying, man, y'all teaching these kids, man, to turn to drugs and alcohol. Because one thing about the urban community, a lot of us is coming from the streets. A lot of the Muslims, see, when people who didn't grow up in an urban community, and you listen to people who grew up in an urban community and they ask them why they accepted gangs with all this violence, it's shooting and killing, it doesn't even lead to anything. Why did y'all join it? And you know what they say? Because of the brotherhood. It felt like family to me. How toxic was your family that joining gang banging and fighting and killing and putting your life on the line felt like family to you? You understand? But that isn't everybody's reality. Some people join the gang because they realize that some of these individuals so downtrodden, they'll do anything you tell them to do for a pat on the back. Hey man, go ride these people, and if you have to kill somebody, do what you got to do, and then bring me all the money. Bring me the whole $100,000 you got up out of there, and I'll give you $10,000. Well, and you're going to have to do it. You know why? Because I'm your chief. And if you don't do it, I'm going to give this other person $1,000 to come knock you upside your head. Some people join gangbanging for that reason. And I'm bringing that back because some of these urban individuals, now that gangbanging isn't so structured and it's breaking down, they join in Islam for that same brotherhood that they got from gangbanging. So some of them don't feel like I'm joining Islam as a religious institution. I'm joining a new form of gang. So, but I'm trying to escape this gang of killing and turmoil in the streets. So I'm joining Islam for that brotherhood. So the last thing that you want to do is just like how I use the analogy. When somebody is in rehab and they hooked on drugs, as soon as they get out of rehab, the last thing you want to do, unless you are a person who sells drugs and you want to make money off of them again, the last thing you want to do is introduce them to drug people that's still on drugs. Now, introducing them to reformed drug addicts is different. You don't want to take these same Muslims that's coming from fighting and shooting and killing gang structure, and then they join Islam, and then put them in a circle of Muslims who still gang banging and selling drugs. Because now they're going to sit down and say, oh, I could just do this exact same thing as a Muslim. Y'all doing it. But now I don't have any other gang because I'm in a gang that's still selling drugs and doing this and that, and we sticking together as a brotherhood, but we don't have an enemy. But then what happens is when some of your enemies become Muslim too, now y'all fighting, now the fighting and shooting comes back. But now it's done as Muslims because y'all got introduced into a dirty version of Islam by some dirty Muslims. But they not gonna have that same, and it's funny to me because these individuals don't have that same energy. Y'all would be amazed right now that the energy that's being put out there, because one individual who was invited to come pray with some people praying the wrong way, which is me, but due to the fact that I prayed before I went around them, because I know it ain't not one time that I can think of that I linked up and prayed with these brothers outside of the masjid and it wasn't an issue. And even inside the masjid it was an issue because they prayed the wrong direction. So not one time. It's been now it may have been a time or two where it was like one or two brothers and we just happened to be at the brother house. But this isn't this whole particular group. So I be prepared. But had I went back there and said, hold on, wait a minute, what y'all doing? Y'all know I ain't finna participate in that. You know what the connotate would have been in? To take all the energy off of them being checked. Man, the brother come around looking for what we doing. He peeked around the corner to see us. No, y'all asked me to come pray with y'all. Due to the fact that some people under y'all tutelage was sitting up in there making wudu, and I hear them arguing over wudu, the people who y'all learned from. So now once again, the people who learned from y'all, they in there having an argument over wudu, and one of them was making wudu wrong. And I'm listening to them arguing, then I'm listening to one of them kids repeat the same crap that y'all always repeat. Well, it doesn't matter as long as your intentions is correct. Why make wudu at all? Why do anything? And at one point in time, they was having to do that. If only thing that matters is your intention, the way that y'all say it, all I got to do is just sit right here and say, my intentions is to be the best Muslim on earth. My intentions is to be better than Prophet Muhammad when it comes to practicing the Deen of Islam, and go to the highest level of Jannah and be the best Muslim that ever walked the face of this planet, but never do nothing. Y'all think I'm going to be able to say, hey, Allah going to give me that because it was my intentions. But I never did nothing, never prayed, never wudu, never studied, never made hajj, never paid zakat, never did anything. But because I sit down and say, hey man, my intentions is to be more thorough in Islam than Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's what my intentions is. And because that's my intentions, Allah is going to reward me for that. Although I ain't going to make salat, I ain't going to pray, I'm going to get high, I'm going to fornicate, I'm going to be married and have girlfriends. I'm going to tell Muslims anything I want to tell them. Y'all can eat pork, you can get high, you ain't got to pray facing Mecca. Allah said in the Quran that you don't have to pray facing Mecca, and if he wanted us praying facing Mecca, he would have said it in the Quran. But because I said my intentions is to be a Muslim that was better than Prophet Muhammad. Now listen to how crazy this sounds. I want to say a astaghfirullah just for saying that out of my mouth as an analogy. But I need for people to get it through their head. You can sit down and say, man, my intentions is to be an eagle and fly through the sky with swiftness. And Allah is going to reward me for that because that was my intentions. Y'all corrupting the deen, man. But man, I got some business to handle, man, and this got longer than I wanted it to. And you know, it's unfortunate, man. These things, this mindset, this is punishment from Allah. Trick from the shaitan, yes. But you got to keep in mind, man, like what Allah says, man, when people have a disease in their heart, Allah increases that disease. Who do it? Allah. Allah do it. Y'all don't even understand. And then these people who arguing with y'all, they ain't gonna just sit down and say, if a Qibla doesn't matter, why does every masjid establish a Qibla? They need to sound like Homer Simpson. But then the crazy part is, because of the disease in their heart, they're going to take that and then they're going to come back a week later with some more batil. And these is going to be y'all friends. But people must think you're going to be up on the deen of your companions is some batil. Like they used to say, man, some of these people don't think fat meat is greasy. Because I be looking at some of these Muslims, man, right now, like, boy, you know better. You know better. But you like your companion, boy. Boy, you carrying it like your companion. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.